Hello, students. In order to keep us on track, I'm going to pick up where most of us left off on Monday of last week whenever we were doing the Comprehensive Articulation Agreement. So I'm going to finish up the PowerPoint from 3 and 4, and then we'll take a little break, and then I'll move on to Chapter 5, so you'll be set to go with your makeup assignment. So we were talking about the Comprehensive Articulation Agreement, and that is what governs the transfer from NC community colleges to the UNC system schools. And we're going to talk about what it offers. So it guarantees that community college courses designated as transferable will transfer to all UNC system schools. One thing to note is that you must pass with a C or better. It also offers some extra protections if you graduate with an AA or an AS. And in that case, you will be admitted with junior status and you will be admitted into at least one of the UNC system schools. Now, please note that it may not be your first choice of school and it may not be your first choice of major at a school, but you will be able to enroll at one of the UNC system schools. Sorry. So there are three different categories of courses, and we're going to talk about them because it's important to understand what you're looking at and what you're enrolling in, because depending on how you transfer, different rules will apply. So the first is what people say is UGTC, which stands for Universal General Education Transfer Component. These courses are guaranteed to transfer and be applied to senior institutions as general education requirements. Because in addition to in the past it being an issue of whether the course transferred at all, sometimes institutions would say, yes, we'll take this as a transfer course, but we're not going to apply it to your general education. And so in that case, you'd still pretty much have to end up taking it again. So this protects you as the most protective of any of the courses. The next set of courses are general education courses. They are guaranteed to transfer, but depending on how you transfer, the institution can decide whether or not it will count as a general elective or general education credit or as elective credit. And then the final is pre-major or elective. And so if you look in your book, you can see some examples and you'll, so for instance, English 111 is a UGTC course. It is guaranteed to transfer as a general education course to the senior institution. Then there is a course like African American Literature, which is pre-major or elective. It will transfer, but the institution is not guaranteeing general education credit. It would be a great class to take if you are interested in any of the humanities, history, English, all of those will most likely be pre-major for you. It's also just a great class to take to meet elective requirements. But depending on what pathway you're in at the senior institution, you may not have a lot of electives or not. So it's important to know what you're registering for. So let's look at these three options for transfer. So the first option is not to get a degree at the community college, and that is a completely viable option. What it means, though, there's some pros and cons. The pro is that you won't have to wait necessarily. You don't have to complete your AA or AS, and then you can go on and transfer whenever you're ready. Some things to know, though, there are also costs. So for instance, there's a big difference between the UGTC course and the regular gen ed courses because the institution decides on a case-by-case basis whether or not it will transfer. There's also a cap on the number of credits you can transfer. So if you look at these, you can transfer 6 credit hours of English, which there's 2 classes, 9 of humanities, fine arts, or communications, which is 3, etc. This all adds up to 40 hours, which, as we talked about, an AA or an AS is normally around 60 hours. So this is likely to cost you more because you're only going to be able to transfer at max 40 hours. And as we discussed, the cost per credit hour at a senior institution is almost always higher than it's going to be at a community college. Also note that there's a cap on individual programs. So even if you take 4 math courses, you're only going to be able to transfer 8 credit hours. And so be very careful if you're choosing this option. Also, there's no protection of the CAA, so you don't get the transfer assured admissions. You don't get junior status. So there's some drawbacks there. All right, so the second option is to complete your AA or AS degree. In that, you get the protection, you get that guaranteed course transferability, you get junior status. There's also that transfer assured admissions policy. What's also nice is that all 60 to 61 hours are going to transfer as one large package instead of it being taken on a course by course basis. So therefore, it's probably going to cost less also because you can transfer more courses. You cannot be required to take any courses that native students don't have to take. And so that, and then finally, if by chance you didn't satisfy the minimum admissions requirements when you were applying to UNC system schools right out of high school, this will cover it. So you can see a lot of pros here. And then finally, there is the different associate degree path options, and that's if you get the Associate of Applied Science or Fine Arts. These are, the Applied Science is not designed to transfer, but lots of students still do. And the Associate of Fine Arts are designed to transfer, but from very specific majors. So in these cases, you don't get a lot of the CAA protections. The UJC courses are going to transfer no matter what, but other things are taken on a course-by-course basis. And there might be bilateral agreements, which are not as comprehensive agreement as the CAA is. They are look, they're transfer agreements between a specific university and a specific community college. They're often for a very specific degree program, and so they tend to vary from one to another. And as we talked about, the CAA applies to everybody and all the public universities. The bilateral is just going to be for specific degrees and specific community colleges and institutions. They are similar in that they protect you, and that they all depend on you earning a C or better in the classes. So one thing that I think is important for you to understand is the difference in the terminology between plan of study and transfer pathways. So the plan of study is what we looked at last time, where it has, these are the courses that you have to take in order to complete your associate's degree at the community college. Transfer pathways are different. These are how the senior institutions recommend you get to your Associate of Arts and how it will transfer over. So I'm going to our Blackboard site, and what I'm going to do is, you can see the UNC system pathways over on the left side. There's a link, and it's got the 16 UNC system schools. And I'm going to just choose NC State. When you open it up, it takes you to their undergraduate admissions transfer page, and it's got these, quote, pathways to degrees. So let's open, we'll just open up economics and criminology maybe. So when you open up economics, what it offers you is a four-year plan, where the first 2 are what you would complete at the community college, and then the next 2 years are what you would complete at the senior institution. And so it's got specific courses that you would be taking. What's nice about this is it tells you what you'll take at the community college, English 111, and what it will transfer as at the senior institution. So community college course, senior institution course, how many credits? Notice that this is a lot of credits, 17 hours, 18 hours. You may not complete this in 4 semesters, and that's okay. This is just a guideline of what you could take, when you can take it, but the main idea is to look at the specific courses. You can move them around for what makes sense for you. One thing to notice that I think is most useful about these pathways is that they show the specific maths to take, because if you remember in your plan of study, you could take any of the maths. This is telling you specifically which maths they recommend. They recommend that you go all the way up to 263 for this, and this is economics. I'm going to go back one, and let's look at elementary education. So in that case, they're again starting you up at Math 171. They want you to get a lot of these math courses in. Let's look at history. So with history, they don't have as much preference that you get all the way up to calculus. Getting Math 143 and Math 152 done is enough. So I hope you can see how this will be useful to see specifically what's the best course for you to take whenever you're registering for your courses. I would take, when I'm registering for courses, both my program of study, make sure it matches that, and also if I know the pathway that I want to follow. Now, one thing that is interesting to see is that if you notice, there is not some very common popular majors here. There is not electrical engineering, computer science. So I have linked in the back of this 3 to 4 PowerPoint a link to Johnston Community College's webpage for students, and it has got what I think is very nice, that one, it includes the independent colleges and universities to get you to the transfer services and the majors there for a lot of the private schools, but it's also got specific places you can go to at the senior institutions where you can see all the majors. You might have to do some extra work, and I'm happy to help you with this to figure out how you can make your kind of own pathway of what will transfer. But if we go to NC State, we can see the transfer course equivalency, where you can go through and see how courses transfer from the community college system to NCSU. You can also, from this page, go to the major sites. And if we go to majors and minors, we can scroll down. So let's look at computer science. So these are the courses that a student needs to take in computer science. And if you follow this along with this, which is the course equivalencies and then the major degree plan at an institution, you can make your own pathway, but it'll take a little more work. But it's important to understand that just because there's not a pathway that's created doesn't mean that you can't find the information for yourself. So I hope that's useful, and we'll talk more about this later.